Welcome to the Wally Show Aftercast. All the stuff we did not get to during the course of the show today. We'll kind of catch up from the weekend because sometimes we don't always get a chance to catch up ourselves. Everybody have a good weekend. Betty Rock, you good?
Yeah.
Yeah, you came in a really good mood today. Said something really nice to me and then followed it with an insult. I'm like,
yeah, because I have to.
Yeah.
The Betty way.
Totally understand that. Don't fault you for that at all. Gavin, you have a good weekend?
It was a good weekend. Saw a lot of people and...
Didn't you have to go to a church function?
Did I?
Or was it a Christmas party, but you had to help set up? Or was that during the week?
Was during the week last week. So it was a good time. It was worth it. I spilled a lot of sweet tea at that party. I feel like Betty would have been mad at me for that one. Like a ton of sweet tea.
You're gonna waste it. Like they brought you there to help and you spill it all.
Don't worry, I'll drink it up.
Why did you spill it?
So those big vats at parties where you pour it in, but to get your cup filled, you turn the little lever to open up the valve. Yeah. I didn't realize that the valve was turned into the middle, and so I'm just focused on pouring the sweet tea into it, and it goes above the level where the spout is, and just all of a sudden I'm like,
it's pouring out.
Man, my foot's wet. Oh no! And it's like a bunch of sweet tea. I'm pouring in as it was pouring out. It was terrible.
Like, thank goodness you brought your husband to help.
Exactly, and I'm like, why do I even come to these things?
Yeah, I finally finished my deck project that I've been talking about for a while. So that was a big deal for me. Like finally, and I was getting sloppy towards the end, like painting, and I had to keep
just to finish
wiping paint up off the floor because I refused to move my tarps, and there was one big huge glob that I saw it got very Matrix. I slopped my brush up and I saw the big glob going down. I'm on a ladder and I reach out and I karate kick the blob of paint and I caught it on my shoe. It was pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
I assume you paint in shoes that you do not care.
Like work boots. And I'm like, I wear work clothes, and if I get paint on my hands, I don't go, oh my gosh, I got to go find a rag. It just goes right on the shirt.
That's how it's done.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do work clothes. So, but everybody had a good weekend. That's good. Elon Musk did not have a great weekend.
He's been having a rough go at it.
He has been. So he takes over Twitter, and everyone was freaking out about him taking over Twitter because he wanted to create a place where people could not be censored, because Twitter became famous for censoring speech that they didn't like. They kicked Trump off, and like anything that just didn't fit with the narrative or what the White House wanted them to do, they just shut down. And so Elon buys it. People quit their jobs over this because they're like, he's going to not censor anything, and it's going to be chaos and anarchy. And they've got to be feeling pretty silly right now because, Kanye West has been, like, I guess going off the rails with like anti-Semitic comments and images, and he's just he's lost his ever-loving, for whatever reason. They say he's like manic depressive or bipolar and stuff, so he's got something going on. So apparently, though, Elon actually basically took Kanye off Twitter. He banned him from Twitter.
Yeah, he did.
So he did exactly what Twitter was doing to Trump, but he finds out now in the position there is some speech apparently you need to correct or you need to censor. And now, because he was like, no, nothing wants to be censored, but now he's finding out, oh wow, I'm in the big boy chair now. I might have to censor some things. And so that's a real tough place to be.
So whose team are you on? Whose side are you on?
I'm a big fan of free speech. I've always been a big fan of free speech, but there is a limit to freedom of speech because we talk about this all the time. We're like, we have free speech. Well, you do have the right to say whatever you want, and in this country, you won't go to jail for it, but it doesn't mean that there aren't consequences. You can say whatever you want, but those words can have consequences for you, and you have to be mindful of that. Twitter, as much as you want to make it this bastion of freedom, there are still things that can be said but shouldn't be said. You can't go on and make all this racist nonsense and stuff like that. That probably should be censored. So I am for limited censorship of things. I know we get really protective of it because it's like, well, you just don't like the speech that I have, and so you have to protect my speech in order to protect your speech. And I do understand that, but I think there are certain things that most of us can agree on that are egregious. And I think you should set out those lines. I think Twitter should set out those lines, maybe even more specifically, versus going, hate speech won't be tolerated. Well, what is hate speech? What constitutes that? I think they would do themselves, and Musk would do himself a good service to put a category in that is more defined, that you could easily put things into that people go, yeah, that's crazy. You know, so it was funny because Jack White, you know him from the White Stripes, he was quick to call Musk out. He said, how's the free speech thing working out? Oh, I see. So you have to choose who gets free speech and who doesn't then. It's nice to watch in real time as you learn all the things that need to be regulated, whether it's guns, drugs, alcohol, assembly, or speech because of it's a danger to someone or something else. They're called laws, and and perhaps you're learning how harmful it can be when you let dangerous, hateful people say whatever they want on your stage.
Yikes!
Yeah, it always hurts to get a dose of your own medicine for sure. Even if you're a billionaire, you're like,
and in front of everyone.
yeah. So I think that's what he has to do. You know, the original concept though of freedom of speech, we've taken that and morphed it to it means we can say whatever we want. That wasn't the original intent of freedom of speech. The original intent of freedom of speech, you have to remember, we were going through a time where we were separating as a country. We're building this brand new country that, no one really knew how it was going to shake out. And, and it's like the idea behind this initially was that you would not be punished for your speech against the government if you didn't like something, because that's what we were coming from. If you didn't like the government, you couldn't speak out against it. There were penalties. The original idea behind this was you had the ability to protest, the ability to call things out in the government without fear of retribution from that government to you. That was the basis of free speech. We then moved that out to a lot of other areas, and some of those areas get a little murky now. But this whole thing reminded me of reminded me of that line from Hamilton where they're talking about, I think it's from the cabinet battle, and they're talking about, he says, winning is easy, governing is harder.
Yes.
Like they got through the revolt fine, but actually building the nation and the things that come up as a result of that is very challenging. And we still find it today. All these years later, a few hundred years later, we still find the difficulty in balancing so many different ideologies, so many different religions, so many different perspectives. But the push and pull of that is what makes this country the best country in the world. Even with all of its problems, all of its mess, it is still the freest place. Like you look at Iran that's going nuts on women for not wearing the hijabs. And there's been violent protests and women being in prison. One lady was killed, and it's a mess. There was a lady that was an athlete, and she was like a rock climbing athlete, and they destroyed her home because she didn't wear the hijab like during her contest. It's like, you guys are lunatics, man. And so like they've been going through all of that. And that's a oppressive regime. I did see, however, there was a news article today. I just saw the headline that said that Iran might be rethinking some of this because it's gotten so much bad publicity, and they're thinking about, they have a morality police. Like they are like literally their job was to go through and not. Well, I guess it's laws there, but to go through and make sure that people are holding up the morality of that. Boy, if you had a morality police in this country, oh man, like the police couldn't even do their own job because everyone's got a problem with morality here. So anyway, that was the latest for Mr. Elon Musk. Lady Rock, what do you got?
Yeah, so recently a movie came out about Marilyn Monroe. Everybody knows who Marilyn Monroe is, and she's idolized by a lot of people. And they kind of have this idea of her, and like she was a woman that took charge and
Hollywood
she
starlet.
led the way.
Yeah.
But a movie was recently made about her, and it kind of brought to light some of the things in her life that maybe people don't know about, and it shows that she wasn't as much of a leader as they thought that she was. And so a lot of people are being upset and offended over it. And so the producer, he said recently that made this movie, he said he likes the fact that people are upset or offended about it. He said that really what they're saying is that the film exploited their memory of her, their image of her, which is fair enough.
Was it a documentary, so it was real things, like
a dramatized,
dramatization,
like someone's playing her.
Okay, but it was based in real life
based
stuff.
In reality.
See, that's the thing, man. There are sometimes you meet people that do not live up to what the public persona of them was. And some people, it messes with them and it lets them down and stuff. I'm never let down by people by and large. There are sometimes, especially celebrities, that's whatever. There are sometimes where somebody in your life does something that you're like, oh, I'm severely disappointed because I didn't see that coming. Right. But when celebrities have these moments, you're like, okay, they're people. They make mistakes. They're flawed.
Right.
So I get it.
If you put them up on this pedestal, that's what gets them in trouble. I mean, we've seen that countless times with celebrities, that you think that they're these perfect human beings and it turns out they make one little mishap and then they're canceled. So we have to keep in mind that they are human beings just like us. We can't make them idols because they'll never live up to it.
It's the problem too. We have the same thing in church where we're like, man, I want my pastor to be relatable. And then your pastor gets up and he's like, I struggle with lust. You're like, oh, I don't want that. Like I'm not saying my pastor said that. That was just an example. Sorry, Jeff. But literally, like pastors sometimes will say things in moments of honesty from the pulpit that you're like, I didn't want that. Like, I don't want that. We don't really want a lot of honesty.
Right. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, them getting upset or offended about things, we live in a day and age where everyone is offended about something. Yeah. So if it brings to light the reality, you can't be offended by that. It's the truth. Right. It actually did happen. Right. So take it up with her, and you can't because she's dead.
There you go. Take it up with her. Okay. Here was a story, too. I forgot about this one. Remember we were talking about that feature on the new iPhone 14 that was the satellite phone? You could switch it to satellite phone mode where it doesn't need a cell phone tower. So if you're out hiking and, you see movies all the time with people holding their phone up trying to get a signal. Yes. This is going to ruin movie making because they're like, well, just put it into SOS mode. But there was a guy actually who had to utilize this. He was on a snow machine going from Norvik. Why I know Norvik is because I watch a show called Life Below Zero.
Of course you do.
Norvik is about 20 miles, I think, into the Arctic Circle. And I know the story of this one guy that lives there and hunts and survives. But this guy was going from Norvik to another town, had some problems, got stranded, 42 miles in the snow, uses his phone to do the SOS satellite feature, and they were able to quickly find him and rescue him. Wow. How crazy is that, man? So that's a great feature. But here's where it gets funny. I was digging into the story, and so you're like, man, that's awesome. Way to go, Apple. For the first 2 years, it's free. After that, you have to pay for the service.
No.
Yes, I'm not kidding.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's so wrong.
I guess, too, okay, so you get it. They
have enough money.
Yeah.
Saving lives, they shouldn't make money off of.
I figure if I live 2 years, I don't need it. I'm not going to pay for it. But if I was ever going to go, say I'm going to go hiking or I'm going to go on a trip where it's out in the wilderness away from people, I would activate the service for that. Just totally worth it, or if you need a pizza.
Yeah, but you could be doing that. You could be doing that every time you were on a flight. What if it crashed out in the middle of nowhere? Well, you're going to wish that, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be like, okay, hold on, let me hold it up higher and let me do my Face ID so that I can buy this app,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would say if you live an extreme lifestyle, then you're going to be the person that pays for it. If you're kind of sedentary like most of us, your odds of being out of cell phone coverage are pretty small.
Now remind me again, how do you get it? For the first 2 years?
It's you just activate it. You go into the settings and you say, I want to activate this. You get it for free for the first 2 years.
When you upgrade your phone?
Right. It's on the iPhone 14, 14 Plus and all that. Okay. I'm in that place where I'm like, am I going to upgrade now? Not because of this, because I don't want to be active. But my daughter was like, my phone's dying. And then my phone has started dying a little bit. And oh.
Sounds like a you problem.
I did almost tell her that. But we're all in the same plan. Well, I need to figure this out, too. Speaking of this kind of stuff. We all share an iTunes account. I looked at my phone the other day and my phone had her name on it. She had changed her iTunes in the settings or whatever. And it showed up as I would send a text and it would look like it's coming from Haley. Oh. It's the weirdest thing. So I think I need to have each of us have our own iTunes accounts now, which I think she uses Spotify and stuff, so she doesn't need the music anymore.
I'm never on my iTunes.
My wife still has stuff from her music. I don't care about any of mine, so I could let her have this iTunes, and then I could start a new one because I use Amazon. And so I think I've got to. I'm in that place where I've got to I don't use iCloud to back things up. Do you guys back your phones up?
I don't know.
Then you don't.
I don't know if I do
I
either.
asked
So
Steve. Steve does all my phone issues for me, but you can do it automatically. So I could be updating my phone. It does it automatically.
Right.
I mean, backing it up.
Like I always get a thing that says my iCloud is not operational or whatever, like a thing. You need a passcode. I've never uploaded anything, but then it showed that I have stuff uploaded. I'm like, well, how's that possible? And so but the storage that they give you isn't enough to back up your whole phone. Mm-mm. Like you have to pay for more a month. Like I would need to pay like $9 a month to have that kind of storage. So what I'm curious about is I always back it up on my computer. Then I buy a new iPhone and I come and I reinstall it from my computer. And eventually I know they're going to get away from that. Like eventually they're going to do away with iTunes completely and it's going to all be cloud-based.
I mean, when I got my new phone, this was a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And they took my old phone. Once again, Steve helped me with this.
Yeah.
I didn't even need my computer. Like it was able to detect the old phone.
Right.
With the new phone.
And it transferred.
And it just transferred everything over.
And you can do that when you are like at a store or you've bought it and you get to keep your other phone before you get rid of it. But if you're like have to turn in your other phone, then you're kind of hosed, you know? So you have to either do it at the store, I guess, or do it at home and wait. So I've got to navigate all that because I have a feeling that's what I'm going to be doing over Christmas.
Have you ever considered getting Mint Mobile?
Yes, I have considered that. The problem is, I have AT&T and I have to jump through all these hoops to use my AT&T phone on Mint Mobile because AT&T locks their phone. Even if I went to Verizon and I wanted to keep my phone, I have to do these hoops and these stuff to get it to work with those. You can't just pull the card out if you use AT&T. So that's what
I'm trying to remember what I did when I switched to Mint Mobile. And I know that I bought the phone off Apple.
Right.
But what did I do? Oh, they took my old one. Once I figured it all out, then I mailed in the old one, and I think that counted towards the new one.
Yeah, they give you like reimbursements and stuff.
So you could do that if you're going to update it anyway.
Yeah, I would look at that because I love Ryan Reynolds. And I love that he owns Mint Mobile.
I didn't do it because of that. I got it because it's a lot cheaper.
Sad that I'm doing it because I love Ryan Reynolds. It would have been better if you had done it for that reason.
But when I was on AT&T, I was paying $80 a month
for just you.
Just me.
That's wrong.
A lot.
Oh yeah. Now on Mint, I do 30.
Because I'm 160 for 3 people. So 80. Wow. Oh, no, less than 80 for 3
three
people.
It'd be about 60.
Yeah, that's not that horrible.
No.
But
if you could do it for 30.
Yeah, 30 each line, and then at $30, it's like, hey, Haley, you're 26 now. No, you're 24. Get off my phone plan. Exactly. Let's do some birthdays.
Oh, we don't have any.
Oh, well, that was easy. Come on now. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for our Aftercast for today. We are running out of days. We have Support Drive next week, and then we're on vacation. So this is where the show goes on hiatus till the end of the year, pretty much starting next week. So I apologize for that, but plan accordingly. Go back to catch some of the old shows that you missed. I do I say that, but I really appreciate the potties that are like, oh, you guys have been gone. That's a bummer, and they're happy when we come back, or they go back and listen to old stuff. I mean, that means a lot. Like that's really cool that you care enough to like listen to this stuff. So thank you so much for being a potty. You guys are the best.